should have just put your phone on Do Not Disturb.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Offside Opinions podcast. I'm Ashwin Yotia,
And I'm Levi Noah.
and we'll just jump right in with the biggest questions from last week's games.
So we'll start with the Thanksgiving games. The first game of the week was Chicago versus Detroit, and the Bears lost in a pretty ugly way. The ending of the game was far from satisfactory. The way that they managed their clock and the way that they just wasted 30 seconds at the end of the game was really disappointing to me, and I'm not even a Bears fan. I think they played great up until that point, and I genuinely thought for most of that game that they would beat the Lions. That makes that loss even more disappointing. I think they can definitely still be considered a good team after that game, even though it was a disaster. I think if they can figure out their coaching situation over the offseason, they've got a solid team, and Thursday's game was proof of that. They just need to be able to manage their clock in such a way that they're not losing that kind of game, and especially not in that way.
And yeah, I agree. The Matt Eberflus firing, perfect firing. I agree with that. It was horrendous clock management. The Bears, they lost in Bears fashion. Like, come on, we all know they lost in Bears fashion. And I think that Caleb Williams has a bright future. He showed that he played against a great defense. He delivered against a great defense. The first half was ugly.
Mm.
They didn't have any points. The second half was outstanding,
Mm.
but they lost because of bad time clock management. Some of that has to do with Caleb's a rookie, et cetera, et cetera. But come on, you're a quarterback in the NFL. You need to be able to know time clock management very, very well.
Well, and when your coach needs to know, your coach needs to be managing your clock when he's got a rookie quarterback that he can't expect to be managing clock like that. That's mostly on the coach, I'd say.
Now for the Lions, they got saved by a miracle. There's no other better way to put it.
They would have lost.
Will their defense be able to handle offenses that actually know how to A, manage the clock, and B, have that many stars on their team? Because the Bears, they have Caleb Williams. He's a rookie. Okay, no problem. But they let DeAndre Swift go kind of wild on them in the second half. They let Keenan Allen have key grabs.
Mm-hmm.
DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, they had their own little share of grabs too. Can they really play at a high level against teams with 3-4 superstars on that team?
Yeah. When you have that many players to target, it can be a bit much, but that's what you're going to have to deal with in the playoffs. So, yeah, this definitely shakes up whether the Lions are still top team. Giants-Cowboys, it was close enough, but it was the Cowboys with Cooper Rush leading them. It was a real ugly loss for the Giants still, even though the score would probably say otherwise. It was a terrible game. What can you expect on their third-string quarterback? But, only place to go from here is hope for some good roster moves in the offseason.
Yeah, they're going to get the first seed.
Mm-hmm.
I think first draft pick. I think that's fairly obvious at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And really, it all comes down to, I think for the Giants, what quarterback do you draft?
Yep.
Their defense, solid. Malik Neighbors, very solid.
Mm.
Running back situation, Devin Singletary, not that solid, but it's good enough. It'll get the job done. If they draft a good quarterback, Cam Ward, I think that's who you keep your eye on.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they could be contenders pretty soon. It's just they need that quarterback play to be good.
Yep.
For the Cowboys, they're inching back to .500. Do they make the playoffs?
I would say probably not, given, the NFC is pretty competitive right now, but they're at least making it less ugly of a season. I think that's going to make it more likely that CeeDee Lamb stays on that team, which is a win in my mind.
I agree with the CeeDee Lamb part. If Cooper Rush continues to find CeeDee Lamb and CeeDee Lamb just cooks, they might. I wouldn't be like completely out of the question, but their defense definitely needs to tighten up for that, and like they need to do it fast.
Real fast.
Dolphins Packers.
Yeah, the Dolphins. I mean, when I predicted that they would win this game last week, I kind of forgot how badly they play in cold weather. But so in some ways you shouldn't 100% blame them for how ugly they played. But in some ways, I also wouldn't say that this was completely the cold weather's fault. They showed, especially in this game, but also really all year, they've shown it. The fact that they only have fast players on their team and they have no one to like power in the end zone when it's first and goal at the 2-yard line or whatever is becoming a major problem. Like Raheem Mostert, he's good enough as a receiving back. He's speedy, he's fast, whatever. But when you don't have a single player on your team that can capitalize on a scoring drive within a couple yards of the end zone, that's a big problem.
Yeah, they need that Taysom Hill-esque player.
Yeah, Taysom Hill.
That player who's like big, beefy, and strong, and you only really use him to get big plays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need a good fullback or something like that.
Do they have a chance of making the wild card?
A chance, yeah, but even if they do, yeah, they've shown that they're definitely not making it past the first round.
For the Packers, Jordan Love, he's playing turnoverless football, and I think that's the football that can really get them divisional round, maybe conference championship appearance if they don't have that hard a divisional opponent, and they might be able to beat the likes of the Lions, the Eagles, the Vikings, but I think it all comes down to how many turnovers he has.
Yeah, because so far he's had at least one interception in most games. If you can limit that, they're a deep playoff team, but yeah, we'll see.
Raiders, Chiefs.
Yeah, Raiders. I do not blame them for losing that game. I blame the refs. They played phenomenal. I don't know how Aiden O'Connell came out of nowhere like that. Well, I do know how. Brock Bowers, that's how. I mean, he's making that team. And Jacoby Myers decided to show up. When their players, when Jacoby Myers is playing well like that, and I guess if Aiden O'Connell somehow decides to play well, yeah, they're almost beating the Chiefs. That was a great game for them. I do not penalize them for losing that.
Yeah, I agree. Brock Bowers, I think the argument can be made. He is the best tight end in the league, or second to George Kittle. That's it. I think that's the argument for him. This game was simply phenomenal from him in the second half. I think that the offensive rookie of the year conversation should go to him, but it's more of a quarterback award, etc. It probably won't, but he is by far one of the most dynamic tight ends in the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really the only problem I saw with their team in that game was they don't have a running back, but they can figure that out in the offseason, figure out the quarterback situation in the offseason. They have a solid team.
The Chiefs, another one-score win. Is this worrisome for the playoffs? Definitely. But if the refs are on their side, then I don't think the Lions, I don't think the Eagles, I don't think the Vikings, I don't think anybody can beat them with the refs on their side.
Yeah.
Except for the Bills, only in the regular season.
Yeah. I see them, if the refs keep making calls like that, I see them making it deep in the playoffs, but man, that was an ugly game.
Falcons, Chargers.
So the Falcons, they got problems. They got major problems. Namely, Kirk Cousins is terrible. Namely, Kyle Pitts decided not to participate again. Namely, their defense struggled. I mean, obviously it's the Chargers. I don't think that was the main issue. The main issue is Kirk Cousins. The main issue is Kyle Pitts, etc. They're not making the playoffs. I don't think they're not gonna win that. They're not gonna win that division. Not at all. And I think they're going to start regretting here soon, if they haven't already, start regretting signing Kirk Cousins on such a big contract.
Back to Levi's discussion of, namely, their mistakes are XYZ. Namely, their mistake is trusting that Kirk Cousins would be fine after an Achilles injury.
Yep.
Look, Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, kind of in the same situation. Great teams, but they both have popped their Achilles. And both have been, let's just say, underwhelming this season. There's a lot of other words you could use for that. Terrible, absolutely horrendous, turnover machines. pure comedy to watch at times. But really, for the Falcons, they're probably not going to win the division. The Bucs are coming back, looking really strong, albeit that win against the Panthers wasn't that strong. But it really just comes down to, can the Kirk limit the turnovers?
Yeah.
In turnoverless games, Kirk Cousins plays phenomenal because, of course, there's no turnovers, but also his team decides to play phenomenal too then.
Yeah.
And you can't just decide to play phenomenal one week and just terrible the next. So really, I think, will they limit the turnovers? For the Chargers, defense played awesome. Will the offense step it up? I know Justin Herbert got injured in the second quarter, right?
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, they kept playing great. He kept playing great after that. They're still looking real solid.
Yeah, and I think that the Chargers basically have locked up a playoff spot at this point.
Yeah.
The Bengals, the Steelers.
Yeah, the Bengals. That's another team that, like, how are you scoring this highly and still losing games? I feel really bad for Joe Burrow. I feel really bad for Jamar Chase. I mean, their defense just keeps selling them. I mean, and if you look at it in one way, the Steelers played great. I mean, I guess there's that, but it's happened tons of weeks in a row where they've been real high scoring games that the Bengals have still managed to lose. That's not how you want to play if you're expecting to play in the playoffs.
The Bengals have basically set the NFL record for the amount of losses when you've scored 30 plus. Coming into the season, it was basically guaranteed you score 30 plus, you're probably going to win. It was very few losses to that column. Now, after this, it's just crazy. I mean, Joe Burrow can probably throw for 400 yards and 4 TDs and they still lose. He could probably throw for 500 yards and 6 TDs and I still would pick the team against them. That's how bad their defense is. And Cam Taylor, all respect to him for getting that pick 6, he should have been called back for the face, for basically him doing a UFC George Pickens-esque throwdown on that receiver. It didn't get called back. But still, even taking up their 7 points, the Bengals still scored 30 plus. They had 31 then. And I think that the defense really is going to be the focus for them this offseason. But also, if they don't do anything about the defense, then the Bengals are just going to be another terrible situation that they've been in for the past 45 years.
Yep.
The Steelers, the offense finally clicked. Russ finally played like he used to play when he was with the Seahawks, when he had Doug Baldwin, Marshawn Lynch, the Legion of Boom, etc., etc. He played good. Will this keep up against playoff defenses?
Yeah, I think, that game, looking at that game in a vacuum, the Steelers look like a Super Bowl team. But, if you start looking at other games like last week's game, I don't see them going to the Super Bowl unless they show some serious consistency in the last couple of weeks here. But that Russell Wilson looks like Super Bowl Russell Wilson from a couple of years ago. So if that keeps up, they're a Super Bowl team.
The Jags, the Texans.
Yeah, the Jaguars, I feel really bad for Trevor Lawrence. First week back, he got absolutely nailed. The fact that they still made it that close of a game after he got taken out that bad in the second quarter, that's not only a big hit to their offense, that's a really demoralizing hit. Their star finally came back and he's now out for who knows how long with that bad of a concussion. So, yeah, great play by them making it that close of a game. But the future's not looking too good with all the injuries. I don't think that you can blame them for that, but they're 2-10. Things are really continuing to go downhill.
Yeah, Azeez Al-Shire, that's the name of the Texans player who had the dirty hit on Trevor Lawrence. With all the college football UFC fights that broke out. Yeah. With this, I'm just wondering, what does he have against Trevor Lawrence? Yeah. If he has anything against Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I know that D'Amico Ryans, I know CJ Stroud, they all try to defend him saying that's not who he is. I understand that, but the Texans defense has been playing pretty dirty this season, just overall when you look at all the tape. And really, I don't know that they're going to do well in the playoffs at all because barring the defensive just playing dirty, the offense can't seem to click either. They barely beat a team that's not going to make the playoffs. How are you expecting to beat any team that's going to make the playoffs? Mm-hmm. And really, I think for the Jaguars, it's what position do we take in the draft. For the Texans, it's what position do we fix on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, the defense isn't going to play not dirty, and they're going to get fined, et cetera, then, I mean, I don't know if they're even going to make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah.
Their division is terrible. That's the only good part about for the Texans.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much a given they make the playoffs, but yeah, they're not making it past the first round. I don't know that, the defense has some real strong players. Yeah, they just need to have a talk with their coach and stop getting ejected like that.
Cardinals, Vikings.
Yeah, the Cardinals, they made it a close one for sure. I didn't see that coming. Kyler Murray played pretty well up until the fourth quarter, but he was just making stupid throws in the fourth quarter. If the Cardinals do go to the playoffs, he's gonna have to stop that, because he was in avoiding a sack, instead of throwing it away, he's throwing it 30 yards down the field to one of the Vikings defenders, and easy interceptions. I've never seen easier interceptions than that. It's a problem when our backup for Stephon Gilmore is picking him off. So that's going to be a problem when they do make the playoffs. But they still, they're still going to, I still think they have a chance at winning the NFC West, depending on how well they play in divisional play. But I think most likely it's the Rams. Most likely, maybe the Seahawks. But we'll get to the Seahawks in a couple of games here. They didn't look too strong either.
Look, I don't blame the loss on Kyler Murray that much. I understand he didn't play that well, but I blame most of the loss on their coach, Jonathan Gannon. He played very conservatively, and that came back to bite them. If he took a 2-point conversion, basically ESPN's metrics and their analysis of the game, all of it pointed towards Gannon playing conservatively. And I agree. I mean, if you get a touchdown and you have a chance to make it a 2-point conversion and basically force the Vikings to drive all the way down the field and then get another 2-point conversion, I think you take that. Because not only are you limiting the chances of the Vikings actually getting the 2-point conversion, but you're also making them be like, yeah, now you're going to drive down the field and beat our defense, which we trust enough. And I think that Gannon playing conservatively ended up just screwing the Cardinals in general.
Mm-hmm.
Patriots, Colts.
Yeah, the Patriots had another really strong game. Drake May had another stellar game, but they're losing still. They're now they're 6-7, or now they're 3-10. So obviously not gonna make the playoffs. But Drake May, you've kind of struck gold there, I think. Keep him around. Just like we said last episode, build your offense around him. The fact that with how bad of a team he's playing on, that he's making it that close of a game. He's looking pretty good.
Who do they aim to take in the draft? I mean, I think it's a fairly obvious question. The wide receiver core is terrible. They need wide receivers. The more wide receivers to give Drake May, the better he'll be. For the Colts, it's just coming down to, will he really make the playoffs? They're kind of teetering and tottering between yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. It's like 1 week we're like, oh yeah, they played phenomenal. They should be a playoff bound team. The next week we're like, what just happened to the team we watched a week ago?
Yeah.
And really, will they make the playoffs?
Mm-hmm.
Jets, Seattle.
Yeah, the Jets, I genuinely thought they had that one in the bag when I looked at the score going into the fourth quarter. I don't know. They shouldn't have sold that win, obviously. I mean, another second half meltdown. I think they should keep Devontae Adams around, and I think he will stay around. He seems to be getting a decent amount of scores on that team, but you gotta figure out what draft pick you're gonna get, and if so, if you're gonna tank the season and get a high draft pick, what quarterback are you gonna draft? Because you're not gonna beat the Giants out. I don't think that's
and I don't think they're gonna beat the Giants out either. But really, to Devontae Adams' point, they need to find out how they can use Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, and Devontae Adams in tandem. They're using them all separately in separate games, and it's shown that when they use Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson more, they tend to win. When they use just Devontae, they tend to not win. And they really need to start using all three together. And I think if they start doing that, they will have some good wins here at the tail end of the season. They won't make the playoffs by any means, but they'll have good wins at the end of the season. For Seattle, it all comes down to the divisional games. This wasn't that good of a win. They had to rely on a comeback in the fourth quarter, and you can't really do that against better teams. But can they win the remaining division games? They still have a game against the Rams. I think they still have a game against the Cardinals too. The biggest game out of that is the Rams because they haven't beat the Rams yet. If they beat the Rams, what happens is no matter what happens in that Cardinals game, I think they lock up the division the second they win against the Rams. Because before the Rams, they have an easier, I think, schedule than they do when they play the Rams. So really, all comes down to the last 2 weeks of the season, do we beat the Rams or not? Do we beat the Cardinals? If they beat against the Rams, I think then it's obvious they're just going to win the division at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Titans, Commanders.
Yeah, the Titans, man. I mean, that I still don't think that Will Levis is a problem. He played pretty well. Their defense you cannot be letting the Commanders score 42 on you like that. That's the problem. That's what you're gonna have to do is pick up some defensive players in the offseason. Figure that out.
The Commanders. It was a bounce back for Jane Daniels. Can they just beat better teams?
Mm-hmm.
And I think their record says that for themselves. They haven't really beat too many playoff-bound teams, or I don't think any actually, for that matter.
Yeah.
So really, it's just can they beat the better teams? Carolina, Tampa.
Yeah, I thought the Panthers would win that one. They can't be letting comebacks happen like that. They sold another close game against the Chiefs. They're not going to make the playoffs at this point, but next year, if they can figure out how to finish games better, they're a solid team. Bryce Young out of nowhere is looking amazing. So
yeah, Bryce Young doesn't have weapons, and the defense isn't really there.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can fix both of those easily this offseason. And really, Chuba Hubbard, I understand the fumble, but, it's fine. We all mess up. You're on a team that's not going to be going to the playoffs. If that was like a do-or-die game, I would have been like, you got to be better than that, but it's not a do-or-die game. So I understand, him being really hard on himself, but there's no reason to be that hard on yourself. You're not a playoff-bound team. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
Bucks, one really simple question. Can Baker limit the turnovers? He had 4 this game.
Yeah.
2 INTs, 2 fumbles. In the fumbles, they've been getting a little out of hand. Last 3 games he's played, he's had 7 fumbles. That's not, a stat that you want to see.
Yeah, that's
ever. So I think that really, can he just limit the turnovers?
Yeah.
Saints, Rams.
Yeah, the Saints. I didn't expect them to win that game. I don't think anyone did. It's not really their fault that all the receivers are injured. I think my take on this is I think they need to get rid of Chris Olave. He's too injury prone. Figure out some receivers they can pick up in the offseason, or just keep with Rashid Shaheed. That's, they can maybe recover from that.
I totally disagree. It's not Chris Olave's fault he's injured. It's Derek's Carr. I mean, that ball that got him injured was a hospital ball if I've seen one. He's lucky that Ray Lewis wasn't there. He'd be sent probably back to Malibu for the rest of his life. So, really, for the Saints, they're not in playoff contention. Can they build the defense back up? Can the wide receivers hopefully get better balls from Derek Carr?
Mm-hmm.
The Rams. Second half was great. Will they keep all the stars involved?
Yep.
They didn't really keep Cooper Kupp involved too much this game. They relied more on Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua and DeMarcus Robinson. That worked. Next time, maybe if we get all 4 involved, you score more points. Maybe we win more games. Beat the Seahawks, beat the Cardinals, beat the 49ers later on in the season when we play them. Just saying. But, this was a solid second half. If that second half translates over to every half, I think they'll be a solid team. Ravens, Philadelphia. Yeah,
the Ravens, I didn't really expect them to win that one. The Ravens, I mean Lamar Jackson played okay, but they're gonna struggle in the playoffs for sure. That was a pretty key game. It was close enough, but they got to be able to beat teams like the Eagles. Their defense has got to stop selling. They let up way too many big runs.
Yeah, I agree, but really it's Derrick Henry's not involved, they lose. Derrick Henry is very involved, they win. Before Derrick Henry came, they managed to still win playoff games, right? Mm-hmm. They need to figure out how they can do that even if he's not involved. Because you're not going to play some easy run defense team in the playoffs. Yeah. Unless you play something like the Browns who just somehow manage to get in, go on a heater, everybody else loses, something like that. Which isn't going to happen. So they need Derrick Henry not involved, then they should be able to win still. I think that's the recipe that they got to fix somehow. Because he's not always going to be involved.
And if Justin Tucker could make an extra point here or there, it'd be pretty nice.
Yeah, maybe, cut him. Just saying.
Or just go for every fourth down,
Oh, yeah, that'll also work. Good idea. I like that idea. Philadelphia, they're still hot. Very hot.
Very, very hot.
Will the Lions fold? And will Philadelphia maybe get the first round bye?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what's on every Philadelphia Eagles mind is, can we get the first round bye?
Yeah, I think that's a ticket to the Super Bowl if they can. I think I could totally see this team going to the Super Bowl. They're looking real hot.
49ers, Bills.
49ers, ugly loss. CMC's injured again. Their season's pretty much over. I expected at least a little bit more from George Kittle, but yeah, it doesn't really matter at this point. Yeah, it's over.
The title window's closed. Blow it up, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, maybe they have a bunch of old players on the team. They need draft picks anyway.
The Bills, I mean, the defense played outstanding in the snow. Will the defense keep this hot streak they have up a little bit? Because in the first part of the season, they were very cold. They didn't really play good defense. Now they're playing really good defense. And I think if this translates to the playoffs, we might see them getting to the AFC Championship. Potentially the Super Bowl. It just all comes down to if they play the Chiefs or not in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Josh Allen having a receiving and passing touchdown, that puts him in MVP conversation for sure. Yeah, I could see him go deep in the playoffs.
Browns, Broncos. The Browns. Before Levi gets to his thing, I just want to say they're the Grim Reapers of the AFC. Yep. The Panthers are the Grim Reapers of the NFC. Anybody who plays them always has a tough time, no matter if they're a playoff team or not, for some reason now. And I think Jameis Winston, you are a W indeed.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's a W. He's doing a great job making other teams look bad, but he's obviously not your QB for the future. And hopefully, if the Browns play it smart, Deshaun Watson isn't either. So, yeah, they also need to draft a quarterback in the draft, or maybe get one in free agency, as long as it's not Deshaun Watson. I think they can, if they just get a good quarterback, they can make a real good rebuild out of it.
The Broncos. Bo Nix came back down to earth after having several good games in a row. Mm-hmm. I think just the biggest question is, they beat the Browns because Jameis Winston threw 2 pick sixes. Great. Will they have 3 hard teams left. The Chargers, Bengals, and that's just because of the Bengals offense. The defense isn't really to be feared, but it's going to be a testament for the Broncos defense, seeing how they handled the Bengals. And then the Chiefs. Do you think that they could beat some, if not all, of those teams?
I mean, they've already shown that they have what it takes to beat the Chiefs, if it wasn't for that blocked field goal. So I think, the Chargers is the only question mark in that lineup for me. I can totally see them beating the Bengals. So I think the rest of those games they can win.
Cool. The picks. So our picks for this week. So first off, we have Packers-Lions. Who do you have?
In my heart of hearts, I really hope Packers win this one. I mean, it makes the NFC North closer, which obviously I don't like. It makes, it really pressure the Vikings to stay in playoff contention with the rest of the NFC North. But I just want to see the Lions topple. I'm rooting for the Packers in that game.
I'm a tier 1 Jared Goff hater. You already know I'm picking the Packers. Moving on.
Moving on.
Jets, Dolphins.
Dolphins. I think is it a Jets home game or
Dolphins?
Yeah, so the Dolphins win. Yeah.
If it was the Jets, then you would have known I would pick the Jets anyway because cold
weather. Yeah.
Falcons, Vikings.
Yeah, Falcons, Vikings. I got the Vikings. It depends on if Kirk Cousins locks in again, but I think our defense can take it, especially if Stephon Gilmore recovers from his hamstring.
Agreed. Vikings probably easily win that game.
Yeah.
Saints, Giants.
I think the Saints probably, but if the Giants defense locks them down and they have a miracle on offense, they could totally win that one.
See, I'm going to pick the Giants here, specifically because I think Kyron Williams just had a great game. I think Tyron Tracy, the rookie running back, he's going to have a great game. Malik Neighbors might find a little bit of a stride here with Tommy DeVito, but I think the Giants might have that one. Mm-hmm. Panthers, Eagles.
I mean, I think it's safe to say the Eagles, but if they have another late season collapse like last year and this is the first game, I could totally see that happening. Panthers have looked pretty hot lately. It's always a possibility.
Since Nick Sirianni shaved his head, they're perfect, the Eagles.
Yeah.
I'm just going to bet with the Eagles again.
Mm-hmm.
Browns Steelers, always a rivalry game.
I think the Browns win it again. They are running wild throughout the NFC. I think, or the AFC. Sorry. I think I think they can win that one. It'll be another close one like last time, and we'll see if Russell Wilson keeps it up from this week. But I think the Browns win that one.
Jameis Winston, W's.
Yep.
Raiders Bucks.
Yeah. I think the Raiders win that one. They looked really great against the Chiefs. The Buccaneers are really wounded right now and almost lost to the Panthers. The Panthers looked good, but I think the Raiders have a good shot at winning that one.
I'm going to pick the Buccaneers. I think this is finally the game where Baker Mayfield doesn't have a fumble and doesn't have an interception. I hope that this is the game where this does not happen.
No, Max Crosby's strip sacking him every play.
Jaguars Titans.
I got the Jaguars on that one. Especially, I very highly doubt Trevor Lawrence is back. I don't even think that's in the picture. But the Jaguars defense has looked pretty strong, and I mean, it depends on if Will Levis can lock in again, but like he did 2 weeks ago. But I think the Jaguars have a decent chance of that one.
The only reason why I'm not going to pick the Jaguars here is just because their offense and their defense both haven't looked good, and just because of that, I'm going to pick the Titans. I think Will Levis, even if he doesn't have a great game, even if he has a mediocre game, they'll probably still win.
Mm-hmm.
Cardinals Seahawks. The big question.
Yeah, that's a big question mark. I think I could see it going either way, but I'm going to go with the Cardinals because they look solid against the Vikings defense, and the Seahawks defense is like the Vikings has been pretty on and off. And you never know whether Geno Smith decides to sell or not, but the Cardinals defense also looked really good against the Vikings. So yeah, I see him winning that one.
I'm going to pick the Cardinals. The tighter the NFC race becomes for the West, the better it is for the Rams. So, of course, I'm picking the Cardinals here. Bills-Rams.
Yeah, I'm going to make you happy here. I say the Rams. The Bills' defense has looked good, but I can totally see the Rams outscoring them. And, it depends on how well you can contain Josh Allen in the pocket, but I think if they can do that, the Bills don't really have an offense besides Josh Allen. So
here's what's going to happen. It's going to be a true testament for the Bills' defense. If they're able to lock up the Rams' offense, which has plenty of stars, then I think the Bills are going to be at least AFC Championship bound. If they can't do that and they manage to lose this game, or Josh Allen just puts the team on his back and just scores more points than the Rams' offense does, then I think that they're probably not going to make that deep of a playoff run. But I can really see this being a game where it's coming down to Bills' defense. And I'm a Rams fan, I'm picking the Rams.
Yeah.
Bears 49ers.
I'm gonna say the Bears. The 49ers defenses look pretty weak. If they bounce back in this game, they could win, but I think it's pretty likely the Bears win.
So I think the Bears will win. I think that this is going to be the game where everybody shows that they actually hated Matt Eberflus, and that's why they were losing so much. And yeah, I think enough said, Bears going to win. Mm-hmm. Chargers Chiefs prime time.
Yeah, I got Chargers. Chiefs looked real weak lately, obviously. I think, and the Chargers defense has, their pass defense has looked real good so far. I don't think that they're going to have Mahomes throwing any deep balls on them. Yeah, I think they can outscore them in that game.
I'm going to say Chargers. If there's one person who I trust the most to beat Andy Reid apart from Sean McDermott, it's going to be Jim Harbaugh. Mm-hmm. Andy Reid doesn't really know how Jim Harbaugh plays, but the Chargers have looked very, very strong. But I do want to say that if Justin Herbert doesn't play this game, then I don't think the Chargers are going to win. I think it's going to be the Chiefs pretty easily. Bengals, Cowboys.
I mean, I think the Cowboys can win that one. I think they have a really good shot at winning that one if their defense, especially if their defense can lock in on that that legendary Bengals pass game. But obviously the Bengals defense looked terrible. I think Cooper Rush is going to be getting a lot of passing touchdowns. Yeah,
I think that you said the Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying the Bengals. I think the Bengals are better. That's why they're going to win. So we are about to dump in a number into the chat for Collins. We're probably only going to have time to be able to do one. So, yeah. Levi's about to dump his number in.
Yeah.
All right, and numbers in the chat. First person who calls, first come, first service.
Depends on if the Wi-Fi dies.
Depends on if anybody actually wants to call.
Yeah, Max Leprello was calling me a second ago.
No calls? No calls?
I mean, they might be slightly behind.
They might be.
Might be. Yeah, there's probably a lag.
Yeah, it probably is.
Well, we can move on, and if they do call.
So when and if y'all call, then we'll accept the call. Don't worry. So moving on. Award picks. Who do you have for MVP?
I really hope it's not Jared Goff or Lamar Jackson, but I think those are probably the two most likely. However, I want to see like Saquon Barkley or someone like that. Maybe Derrick Henry if he really goes off. In my heart of hearts, I really want Justin Jefferson. The only reason our offense is playing well right now is because of him, but most likely probably.
The reason why I won't be Jefferson is because he's not approaching any of the records.
Yeah, he's not.
And that's just going to be automatic. You're not getting it. We have a call. Let's see. Okay, I guess that person just cut the line. Never mind then. Yeah. So for my MVP pick, I actually have Saquon. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Saquon, I think he should win it. Will he win it? Probably not. But it's who should win according to us.
Yeah.
And that's who we think should win. Offensive Player of the Year.
Now it's calling back.
Oh, okay. We got to call him.
Hello?
Hello? On a scale to 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
On a scale to 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Low.
Okay, I'll buy 8.
Okay, good choice.
Okay then.
Okay, then. So that's your one call-in. Anybody else who calls in, sorry, we're not going to accept your call. That person ruined it for you. Offensive Player of the Year.
Offensive Player of the Year. I want someone again. Like I want Derrick Henry. I want Justin Jefferson. However, most likely again probably like Josh Allen. I think Joe Burrow deserves it, but if they don't make the playoffs, that's probably unlikely.
Offensive Player of the Year is like the non-QB MVP award, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So if Saquon wins MVP, I can see Derrick Henry winning Offensive Player of the Year. I can also see that, what's his name? Josh Allen, he might win it.
Mm-hmm.
I know you said that Joe Burrow might win it. I can see that too.
Yeah. Defensive
Player of the Year.
I know you want Jared Verse, but I think most likely is either Cooper DeJean or
that's Rookie of the Year. I'm saying Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh, defense. Oh, my bad. I misread that.
No problem.
Defense Player of the Year probably. Myles Garrett is at the top of the conversation. Everyone wants T.J. Watt, at least Steelers fans, but I think Myles Garrett. They're the Grim Reapers of the AFC. He's going to keep sacking quarterbacks left and right. I think Myles Garrett gets it.
I think that Myles Garrett won't get it, and instead, I think that T.J. Watt has a legitimate chance for it. He was robbed of it last year.
Yeah.
This year, I think he actually does get it. If he doesn't get it, then it becomes a debate of who else could.
Mm-hmm.
I really could see Pat Surtain getting it. He's the best CB in the league, but
yeah.
They usually don't give it to cornerbacks from what I've seen.
Not usually.
Yeah. Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I want Jaden Daniels personally. He's had some on and off games though, so if he falls off here in the next couple of weeks, he probably won't get it. But probably Jaden Daniels, maybe Bo Nix if he has a good next couple of weeks.
Yeah. In my heart of hearts, I really want Brock Bowers to win it. I think
You probably won't though.
I know a lot of Raiders fans who are probably like, yes, Brock Bowers, please.
Yeah.
But he won't get it strictly because it's a QB award. We all know that. Moving on, Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Here's where I'm saying, like, you want Jared Verse, but it's probably Quinyon Mitchell. He's playing on an insane level. He's not just looking like a top rookie defensive player. He's looking like a top defensive player, period. I totally see him winning that award.
I think y'all know what my pick is. Jared Verse. And do we trust? Next, Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year, the Chiefs glazing is out of control. It's a possibility that Andy Reid gets it. But I want, it's kind of insane that, Jim Harbaugh just came into the league and he's made the Chargers the team that they are.
I can see Jim Harbaugh totally winning it.
I could see Nick Sirianni maybe.
I could also see Sean McDermott just because they lost their top offensive weapon, that kind of storyline there. But yeah, I think Jim Harbaugh, Sean McDermott, I think both of those guys could be the ones who win it. Who do you have for your top 5 quarterbacks in the league right now?
I know you hate me saying this, but I put Jaden Daniels up there just because of how fast that team turned around with them drafting him. I like that. I like seeing that. But Joe Burrow, I have to put him in there. I don't know 100% on my number rankings, but I'm saying the 5 that I put up there. I'm gonna put Josh Allen up there. I'm gonna put I know every ESPN analyst is gonna put Jared Goff in there. I'm not even gonna pretend that Jared Goff is playing well.
Tier 1 Jared Goff haters.
I think Justin Herbert, his insane accuracy definitely deserves it. And come back to me.
Is Mafrod on there?
No, Mafrod is not on there.
Good. My top 5 quarterbacks, I have them numbered, so you can just add the numbers. 5, I have Justin Herbert. His TD to INT ratio is 13-1. He's only thrown 1 pick this entire season. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. So, yeah, I think self-explanatory there. 4, I have Lamar. He's kind of fallen off in the past few weeks. That's why he's not higher. Him in there. 3, I have Baker. Look, I know Baker putting Baker above Lamar seems crazy, outlandish, but the reason why Baker's there is strictly because he is why the Bucs are winning. Mm-hmm. And I think that really the turnover problem has gotten out of control recently. So I could totally see Lamar and Baker being flipped, but I think that Baker, because he's the sole reason why they're winning, I'm gonna put him right there. Number 2, Josh Allen. Same thing with Baker. Sole reason why they're winning. Difference is that he has less turnovers. Number 1, Joe Burrow, he's played outstanding. Mm-hmm. He has better numbers than Allen. He's better numbers than any quarterback in the league. And his TD to INT ratio is 4 picks, I think he's thrown, and 30 touchdowns or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's insane how he's played. And I think that he really deserves MVP. He probably won't get it, but it's whatever. So we'll close off today with our power rankings. So the biggest riser in this week was the Steelers. Russell Wilson really discovering himself again, I think, propels him to that spot. Mm-hmm. The biggest faller after that kind of performance, the Falcons.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. Top 5 power rankings for me. I hate saying this. I really hate saying this, but I got Lions at number 1. That even though I don't agree that their offense is as top tier as most people are saying it is, the fact that they got such a good formula with the run game and their offensive line, I think they got to be number 1. I got Eagles at 2. They're looking kind of off and on, but the last couple of games they've been on a hot streak. I see them going to the Super Bowl unless the Lions somehow beat them out, or fingers crossed the Vikings. But their run game is looking unstoppable. 3, I got the Bills. Josh Allen getting a receiving and passing touchdown in one play. That alone makes them a top team. And their defense is strong. They got a great head coach. Yeah, Bills are top tier. 4, I got the Steelers at 4. That's, some people don't like that pick. They lost to the Browns, whatever. But Russell Wilson's looking rejuvenated. Their defense is not letting anything through. Here's my real wild pick. I know that you're going to think it's biased, but I got Vikings at 5. I can't stand putting the Ravens at 5 after that horrible loss. And, Vikings are 10-2. We're a top team.
Here's the thing. You think Isaiah is biased? I actually wholeheartedly agree with you. The Ravens shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
The Marauders shouldn't be there. I think the Vikings have a legitimate argument to be there.
Mm-hmm.
When I put them there or not, maybe not. That depends. But I could see the argument for putting the Vikings there. For me, if you hate life right now, you're a Brown, Titan, Cowboy, Jaguar, Panthers. Yeah, we'll just call you Panthers. Raiders, Patriots, Jets, and Giants. I think pretty self-explanatory. Bottom 10 teams of the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you're in between hating life and your future looking kind of decent, you're the Saints and you're the Bengals.
Panthers might be in there, maybe.
Yeah, you might want to put the Panthers in there, but it's more defensive issues for them than there really is offensive issues at this point. But they also don't have any targets, which is why they kind of get lowered there.
Yeah.
Saints, you have your bright spots, you have your bad spots. Bengals, you're only in there because of your defense. Your offense would be Super Bowl contender offense.
Mm-hmm.
Future looking bright. The Colts, I mean, Anthony Richardson, the young team, I think self-explanatory. Bears, same thing. Dolphins, speedsters, kind of old at some on the defense, but that can be fixed pretty easily. Falcons, they dropped from like playoff wild card to future looking bright just because they lost like 3 games in a row.
Yeah.
And if you're in the playoff hunt, you're either a Buccaneer or you're the entirety of the NFC West division. I don't think there's much of a, here's why kind of thing to say there. The playoff wild card, Commanders, Chargers. The Commanders, I just want to see them beat a better team. That's it. The Chargers, you could put them in between the wild card and Super Bowl contenders. It's just more of Justin Herbert question mark. That is why they're there.
Yeah.
In between the wild card and the Super Bowl contenders, you have the Packers, Ravens, Vikings, Bills, and Broncos. The Vikings, you can make the argument for Super Bowl contenders. The Bills, you can make the same argument. The Broncos, they came from the playoff hunt into the wild card Super Bowl contender region just because of how good their defense has played, and Bo Nix.
Yeah, I would drop the Ravens from that list if they have another bad week, but they're still a top team.
If you're a Super Bowl contender, you're the Lions, Eagles, Steelers, and the Marauders.
Yep.
Or if you want to call them the refers, you could also call them that.
But as long as they've got the refs on their side like that, they're always going to be Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah. And I think that's enough said on that.
Yeah.
So our time is up, unfortunately, for today. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. The Collins may or may not be back for next week. We'll see. But thank you all so much. We will see y'all next week.